Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was tweeted by Samashi MN. The original OP is Dangerous Grocery, posted to r/relationship advice January 23rd, 2018. I, 28 female, gave my boyfriend, 28 male, an engagement ultimatum, and I might be regretting it. My boyfriend and I are both young professionals in our late 20s who moved in together 6 months ago after graduating from professional school and relocating to a new city for work. We've been together for 4 years and have had no issues adjusting to living together. We're happy together, want the same things out of life, and take excellent care of each other. The issue is that I have known for a while that he is the person that I want to spend my life with, and I would like to settle down and hopefully start a family soon. I have been in a serious relationship, also lasted 4 years, before him, so I know what I'm looking for. On the other hand, my boyfriend is not in the same headspace as me about this for a few reasons. One, he was a late bloomer when it comes to relationships, and I was his first real girlfriend. And two, he has a hard time making decisions about everything, from his job to what pair of shoes to buy. When we discuss the future, I'm very clear that I'm ready to settle down with him ASAP. He is also very clear that he loves me. He thinks we have a great thing, but he wants to take more time to see where it goes. He also jokes around about how he hasn't banged enough chicks. We had some serious commitment discussions last year when we were discussing where to live after graduating, and I told him that I wasn't going to try to relocate to the same city as him unless we were engaged. He didn't propose, and I stuck to my guns. Despite very slim odds, we both coincidentally found jobs in the same city halfway across the country. So we moved there together and got an apartment together. Now, I'm starting to get fed up and hurt about this situation. It was causing a lot of stress for me, and it was the main point of contention in our relationship. So, in September of 2017, I told him that when our lease is up in April of 2018, I was going to move out unless we were engaged. He hasn't made a decision ever in his life without a deadline, so I figured this would help nudge him in the right direction. However, I'm starting to worry that he's not going to propose, mostly because he's telling me that he's not going to propose. Now I'm regretting this ultimatum, and I think maybe I was stupid for ruining a good thing by trying to rush things. But it's been 4 years. Also, I worry that if he does propose, it will be forced, and he'll always regret it. On the other hand, I gave him basically the same ultimatum last year during our job search, and he made it very clear that he'd rather end up in different cities, which knowing us would likely mean breaking up, than get engaged. I'd like to think that I'm being rational and empowered here, but am I being stupid and desperate? If he doesn't propose by April, should I stick to my guns and move out, basically sacrificing this great relationship because it wasn't moving at my pace? I'm happy to answer any questions too. The situation is getting so stressful, and I appreciate anyone who takes the time to read this and give advice. Update: March 21st, 2018. Boyfriend knew and acknowledged the ultimatum, and I tried to use this as a springboard to have a serious conversation about where he sees the future going. We did have some sit-down talks that didn't really go anywhere, and he told me to stop bringing it up. So I stopped. We carried on for a little while being our happy selves without mentioning the ultimatum. Part of me hoped he had a proposal planned and would surprise me. Nope. Now we are 10 days away from the March 31st deadline, which I 100% plan to stick to, and he just told me that he wants me to visit his parents in their home in September. And after the visit, he would then talk with them about our relationship and consider proposing around December. Part of me is so insulted and angry by this idea. First of all, I've met his parents before and actually spent plenty of quality time with them. So far I like them, they like me. They live in a more isolated state that's hard to get to from where I live. Plane tickets are very expensive, would be a 2-day drive. I've suggested that I visit them multiple times and we've had plenty of opportunities to do so. But my boyfriend was against it for one reason or another. The saddest thing is that we both coordinated time off work last week. We knew about the vacation for months and had plenty of time to plan. He told me that he was going to visit his parents and said that he was thinking about asking me to come with, but I kept it vague. I looked up flights, which were reasonable in price at the time, and tried to plan everything, but when I presented the information to boyfriend, he would say, "Not now, too busy," and put off planning the trip. Then, less than 3 weeks before the vacation started, boyfriend told me I needed to come to his family's home with him on this trip, and if that didn't happen, there was no way he would propose. By that time, all the flights I had been tracking had gone way up in price because the departure date was so close. It would have been financially very tight for me to pay for that flight, and honestly, I think what he did was crappy, because he told me at the last minute what I had to do instead of planning in advance like I had tried to do. So I thought it over and decided not to go with him. Now he's saying the reason he can't propose is because I haven't met his family in their home. Like I said, met his family a handful of times in the past. His family and my family have met each other, etc. He says that this needs to happen for his family to be okay with us getting married. If he had told me anything before the vacation was close and flight prices shot up, it would have been fine. We had multiple vacations since I issued the ultimatum, and we could have gone to visit his parents then. I feel like this whole thing was him setting me up for failure so that he could not propose and then blame it on me. Not sure if it's relevant, but he is Asian American and I am white. He was born in the US. I asked him if the need for me to visit his parents' home before he proposed is an aspect of his culture, and he said, maybe. I don't want to be culturally insensitive at all, so if anyone has knowledge about this, please share. Now that we're 10 days out and he's realizing I'm serious, he spends all our time together begging me not to go through with it. But he's not planning to propose. He says it doesn't make sense because he's telling me that he would propose in December, but he was willing to take the risk of losing me rather than propose by April. I see where he's coming from in a way, if we both do want to get married, but I can't do this anymore. Also, I think he's an adult and find it insulting that he's blaming this whole thing on his parents not meeting me in their home. They're asking him constantly what his plan is with me. They don't know about the ultimatum. And so I get the impression that they're just as curious about the future of our relationship as I am. I don't think they sat him down and told him I need to visit them before he can propose, but that's just a hunch. Any advice or comments on the situation would be appreciated. Second update, March 2018. I couldn't go through with the ultimatum. I was planning to move out, actually found a new apartment, and wrote the check for the deposit. But when push came to shove, I couldn't picture my life without my boyfriend. I decided that I loved him too much to leave him over the arbitrary deadline that I had created. I also believe that he meant what he said about getting engaged in December. I felt I was being silly for leaving him in 4.5 years because I wouldn't wait another few months. As a compromise, he said we could get a cat. I had been wanting one, but he'd been saying no. And he said he'd go to at least one family event with me this year. On March 31st, the day I was planning to move out, we got a cat together. April to September of 2018. My boyfriend and I spent time enjoying each other without really mentioning the ultimatum. We both needed to recover from the damage it did to our relationship. I got a therapist and started working on myself. I picked up a new hobby, running, developed new friendships, and spent a lot of time working on my career and hanging out with my amazing new cat. I think focusing on myself, my career, my friendships took some of the pressure off of him. Also, multiple family events came and went, and my boyfriend had an excuse not to attend each one. I'm not sure it was that big of a deal anyway. By the end of the summer, we were doing great, and it was like the ultimatum never happened. He also complains about our cat constantly. September 2018, visiting his family. As I promised him, I went to visit his parents in their home in September. As I mentioned in the previous post, he's Chinese American, and I'm white. So I studied up on my basic Chinese and was able to speak/understand a little when we were all together. It was a great trip, and I genuinely enjoyed his parents and had a lot of fun in his hometown. I left a few days before he did so that he'd have time to spend with them alone and speak with them about his plans for us in the future. I asked him a few times how that conversation went, and he said that they are happy with us having a future together, but that getting engaged in December would be too fast. That seemed absolutely crazy to me. And again, it seemed like he was projecting his own views onto his parents. He also told me I needed to learn Chinese before we got married. His parents speak perfect English but prefer Chinese when they are with family. So, I started doing Rosetta Stone. It's a bit of a blast from the past there. October to December of 2018. Around November, I started getting antsy that my boyfriend was going to change his mind again. He was starting to show his pattern of making excuses. For instance, one day he casually mentioned that he couldn't propose by December because he needed to save money. We share finances and money is not an issue for either of us. You guys are sharing finances? Another time he freaked out that I have student loans. Most people in my profession do. And I have a very secure job, good pay, and automatic loan payments. And demanded that he see a spreadsheet of my finances before he could consider having a future together. Luckily, I already have this spreadsheet, which I showed him, and he calmed down. In the meantime, my friends and family were starting to ask questions about the future wedding. Although they had the best intentions, it was stressing me out because I was worried that after all of this, there would be no wedding. I worked with my therapist on letting go of this stress, redirecting my family away from my relationship questions. I also created a no nagging rule in my mind. I stopped dropping hints, mentioning wedding/engagement, etc. with my boyfriend. Didn't do it much anyway, as I had learned my lesson from the ultimatum. We spent Christmas together for the first time this year, and I really thought he would propose then, but he didn't, and I didn't bring it up or pout about it. He visited his family for New Year's, and I was left in our city, working, so it definitely didn't happen then. January of 2019. I accepted that he actually didn't follow through with what he said he would do, despite me holding up my end of the deal. I was the perfect girlfriend that he asked me to be, and I tried to use this as an opportunity for growth, both individually and within the relationship. And still, nothing changed. I was still on the momentum of not nagging him and trying to suppress all of my thoughts of wanting to marry him. It's now to the point that I equate my own thoughts of marrying him with shame and self-loathing. Like, they're bad thoughts that I shouldn't have. I realize I've been feeling so embarrassed with my own desires for my future, which is so sad. But a few things have happened in the past few weeks that have made me realize that this is all bullshit. First, one of my superiors at work offered me some great opportunities at my job if I stay on board long term. However, my boyfriend wants to think about moving us out of the city we live in because we don't like it here. I'm actually okay with it for the most part. He also has given a hard no to ever moving back to my home state. His reason? My family lives there and they annoy him. I started thinking, wow, this person is putting a lot of limits on my life for someone who still can't commit to me for the long term. Then this weekend I went back to my home state for my best friend's baby shower. Also, I want to have kids. That's the main reason I'm in any hurry to get married. Biological clock is ticking. So yesterday, I was hanging out with my friend and her husband, helping them set up their nursery, and I had this aha moment where I realized that it's okay for me to want to get married and have kids. There's no shame in having my own wants. And at this point, not only have my wants/desires been shut down by my boyfriend, no marriage, we can't stay in the city where I have job opportunities, we also can't live in my home state where my entire family is, but I've internalized this sense of shame about expressing or feeling anything that conflicts with his desires. So I'm starting to form a plan to move on because this dude is taking more from my life than he's adding to it. I'm hoping to get anyone's opinion or advice or support about where to go from here. Also, I'm willing to hear all the "I told you so" from everyone who said I needed to leave this guy in March when I said I would. I totally deserve it. Thanks for reading. In the comments, Plebius Maximus. Why is it not just as acceptable to him to not want marriage as it is for her to want it? Sure, break up with him, but if he didn't want to be married, her trying to pressure him into it with an ultimatum is ridiculous. Opie responds, since the very beginning, he says he wants marriage and 2 to 3 kids. In the past 1 to 2 years, sometimes he says he wants those things with me, but a lot of the times recently he's been saying, I can't marry you, when I do little things he doesn't like, e.g. when I farted near him. Sometimes I confront him when he says it, and he claims he's joking. But yeah, we actually do want the same things, or so he claims, but he has a mental block toward taking actions, towards making it a reality. Plus, the changing timelines and all the hoops he asks me to jump through are showing me that he's stalling for some reason. I've asked why he's stalling, but all he can give me are excuses of family, money, he wants to see my student loans, etc. I wonder if these are the real issues or whether he has some other reason that he doesn't want to tell me. User Zigbar's best waifu comments. I think that OP has a whole lot more flaws than just listening. I'm pretty sure that she's got a whole lot of her own issues that she's not telling us. I don't expect her to. All I'm saying is, without knowing both sides of the story, I'm not willing to call her boyfriend a scumbag. OP responds, of course I have my flaws. Many of them have been pointed out by commenters here. Of course my boyfriend isn't an asshole. No one is all good or all bad. I think the whole realization I'm coming to here is that I have grown beyond this relationship. User Genesequa comments, people who are afraid of commitment are just as afraid of breaking up as they are getting married. They're afraid of committing to either of those big decisions, so instead they stay stagnant. No growth, just making their partner feel like they're not good enough when the opposite is actually true. OP responds, oh my god, yes, that is true of my boyfriend. I'm planning to speak with him tonight about all of this, and I know he'll be just as upset with the prospect of ending the relationship as he was about getting married. Final update, added in the post. Wow, thank you Reddit for the super thoughtful replies. I read each one so far. I spoke with my boyfriend last night about all of this. I started by asking what his roadblocks are and where he sees the relationship going. He brought up the fact that it's moving too fast for his parents, and some issues that he has with the relationship. One, that we don't make decisions together, e.g. the fact that I want to stay in our city for career opportunities despite him wanting to move next year. Also, sometimes I make plans to hang out with friends on weekends when he's free instead of us planning the weekends together. Two, he worries about the fact that I get a lot of Amazon packages and he doesn't know what I'm buying. I showed him my Amazon history. It's mostly household supplies that we both use and occasional supplies for my hobby, but that's like $20 a month, max. Also, this is all on my credit card, which I comfortably pay off each month. So I don't think I need to clear every purchase with him. And three, he also doesn't like that I'm chronically 5 minutes late to everything. That's true, and my fault. Also, since it came up a lot in the comments, I want to mention that he explicitly said that none of this has to do with cultural barriers or the fact that we're an interracial couple. However, after all this, he said he's not ready for marriage. I was pretty pissed and told him I wished he had told me this a year ago so I could have moved on. He basically tried to keep me around for another year so that he would have more time to figure out if he was ready. So I told him the relationship is over, and he is appearing to be in disbelief. He's trying to be really nice now, probably to get me to change my mind, but I'm remaining gently firm here. In my eyes, this is a situation where OP continued to commit to a relationship because of the cost-sunk fallacy. I've already spent this many years about it, so we should just continue pushing for it. In some circumstances, sure, that's what you should do. You should try to fix things, try to push through it, but there is a limit and there is a wall. If you're 4, almost 5 years into a relationship and you're asking about marriage and his response is, my parents think we're moving too fast. My parents want you to learn Chinese first. My parents this, or I think that, or what about your finances? You're ordering a lot of Amazon packages. You farted near me. Just a lot of random excuses like that. At some point, you just gotta bite the bullet and realize that he's trying to refuse any form of commitment and just maintain a steady relationship with no strings attached. And he should just be upfront and honest with you rather than stringing you along for years on end, hoping that things eventually will change and become the relationship that was worth putting that commitment towards, was worth actually following through with sinking in that much time. But in the end, it wasn't. Also, the fact that he's putting that much blame onto other people or other circumstances rather than himself, and trying to put that much blame onto his parents, and he is taking his parents' advice to that extent to the fact of, my parents think that we're moving too fast. I didn't realize you weren't your own person. Also, maybe I'm missing something here because, full transparency, I almost fell asleep while reading this because I've been kind of overexhausting myself and actually fell asleep mid-sentence and had to end up returning to this after like 8 hours. So maybe I'm forgetting a few aspects of this, but I think the Redditors here are being way too harsh on OP with, well, you can't just force him into a marriage. OP wasn't trying to force him into a marriage. She gave an ultimatum, yes, but the ultimatum was either we get married or we split up because this isn't where I want my life to go. Ultimatums can be bad, and you have to be willing to accept both sides of the ultimatum. You have to be ready for that. Ultimatums become a problem if you give unreasonable expectations to try and force and pigeonhole them into one decision and then get mad when the one decision you try to pigeonhole doesn't work. OP wasn't doing that here. She wanted something from life. He wasn't giving it to her. She said, "This is where I want my life to go. You can either follow me on this path or I can find someone else." And what did he do? When she was willing to continue to work on the relationship despite the ultimatum and despite putting her plans on pause further, he lied to her. He strung her along. He continued making excuses as to, "Well, we just gotta do this," or, "Well, we just gotta do that. You gotta visit my parents' home and visit them in their home, so then I can propose to you that way," and just a bunch of random fucking excuses. And I'm kind of floored that Reddit turns around and puts the onus of the blame onto OP. It's one thing to be like, "Hey, yeah, you really should have broken up with him a while back here. He's being a complete fucking tool." It's another thing entirely to be, "Well, you can't just force him into a marriage." I bet OP also has flaws too that she's not listing. Like, yeah, but that doesn't change the fact that OP's rightfully frustrated that he's stringing her along. And the fact that you can't see that, like, come on. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OP is "Slept with Friend," posted August 11th, 2016. I, 32 male, have been sleeping with my best friend, 32 female, and for 2 weeks, and I think we've been dating for 10 years and never realized it. So, me and Sophie have been best friends since, like, the first grade. She was my next door neighbor growing up. We went to the same college and got jobs in the same city, and we've been roommates since we were like 25. So, typing this, it almost seems like we've been a couple all along, but I've never really thought of her sexually since we were teenagers. She had a boyfriend at like 17, and they were really in love with each other, and I was good friends with him, but unfortunately he drowned like a week after we graduated high school. She was obviously a wreck, and I helped her as much as I could get through it. And in the process, we pretty much became inseparable. It's not like one of us was clinging to the other, it was completely mutual. We liked the same things, have the same interests, and did stuff together all the time. When she was having a hard time sleeping because of Rick's drowning, she asked to come over because she didn't want to be alone, and I, of course, was there for her. Eventually, we graduated college and decided to get jobs in the same city, and eventually, after that, we decided to move in together as roommates because we save a ton of money, and we were always hanging out together anyway. Now, I realize that basically, I think we've been a couple, except we just didn't have sex. Of course, she would have a guy over sometimes, but it was never really serious, and same with me. I dated a bit, but never really felt a connection with any of them. So, about 2 weeks ago, we were watching wrestling, like we do every week, and she started softly crying, and we were sitting like inches from each other on the couch, so of course, I put my arm around her and asked if she's okay, if she needs to talk. Basically, she's been having a hard time finding a guy, and she's really upset. She's always been kind of thick, but now she's pretty chubby, and she says that attractive guys don't want to sleep with her anymore. So, I'm trying to be supportive and stuff, and I wasn't lying. I've always thought she was really pretty, but I said that's not true, and that plenty of guys would love to sleep with her. She's not a prude or anything, and we always make crude jokes to each other, and I said something like, "If we weren't like the best friends ever, I'd have been trying to fuck you for the past 10 years. She gave me this look like I had just flipped a switch on robot. Like she was just staring right into my eyes, and my brain is telling me, kiss her. And so I did. We were making out for probably 5 minutes, and she had pulled my shirt off, and I had pulled hers off. And then I'm thinking like, oh my God, what am I doing? So I stopped, and I'm like, whoa, we need to think about this. Are we sure we want to go down this road? We talk for like 2 minutes, and we basically decide, hey, we've been friends for 25 years, and been through way worse together, that having sex one time shouldn't be an issue. It was by far the best sex I have ever had. And now, since that time, we've had sex at least once every day. Sometimes 2 or 3 times. We both recognize we need to discuss this, but keep saying, we'll discuss it tomorrow, when we'll have more time. But I recognize we have to discuss it, like soon. And I'm scared. I think I've realized that I've been madly in love with her this entire time, and that's why I had never connected with any of the women I dated. And I'm really hoping it's the same for her. I think we might have felt this way for a long time, and we're finally realizing it. It just sounds so fucking crazy. Like, what the fuck is going on? Am I crazy? Am I getting my hopes up? If she doesn't feel the same way I do, how can I ever hang out with her again? What do I do? Too long didn't read. I slept with my best friend of 25 years and now realize I'm crazy in love with her and probably have been for 10 years. And I'm afraid that maybe she doesn't feel this way as well. Relevant comments. Bailey Blue, 22. I think she's into you, otherwise she probably wouldn't have slept with you multiple times. I suggest you start taking her out on real dates. If she agrees and is receptive to cuddling and holding hands, she's def into you. And whenever you feel is the right timing, you can tell her what's in your heart and how you feel about her. Opie responds, I mean, like, we always cuddle on the couch, and in college, when she would come to my dorm because she couldn't sleep, we'd sleep in my bed together, just nothing sexual happened. I'm starting to think she spent 15 years trying to give me hints now. Area Woman comments, I agree with OP, take her on actual dates. Allow yourself to feel some of these early relationship jitters and awkwardness as you embark on a new type of relationship together. OP responds, I'm going to, and we go on dates all the time. I just didn't realize they were dates, like dinner together, lunch, museums. I think we should plan a vacation together, like a king bed instead of twin beds. LOL. Wonderlanders comments, this is adorable. It sounds like you guys are basically in the perfect position for this to happen. Are you worried expectations will change if you become an official couple? Maybe pick an evening once a week to do a serious check-in with each other, where you have an open floor to bring up any concerns or thoughts you've had about this shift in your relationship, and have fun. I bet all your friends are gonna be like, geez, guys, finally! I don't know why I said it like that. Opie responds, both of our parents are always joking with us about when we're gonna give them grandkids, but both of us are firmly child-free, so we always use that defense and don't stress that we aren't a couple. I think I really am the only one who didn't realize I'm in love with her. I feel like an idiot. Edit, I just got home from work. She gets home in a bit. I think I'm just going to sit her down and lay it all out there. I'm so stressed out by not knowing. OP updated the next day, August 12th, 2016. Edit 2 with updates. So she got home and I told her we need to talk, and she seemed disappointed. So I was really bummed. Like, she looked like she wanted to cry. But I said, please just let me say what I need to say, and then we can go from there. I told her that since we had started having sex, I realized I'd been in love with her for a really long time and didn't realize it. And she started trying to hold back tears, and I got the worst knot in my stomach and thought I was literally going to puke. I told her it's okay if she doesn't feel the same. I would always be there for her as a friend and would try my best to not let my feelings get in the way. But now that it's out there, I guess there isn't any going back. She told me to stop, and she was crying now. I stopped, and it felt like an eternity just sitting there. I couldn't even look her in the face. Then she just kind of wrapped her arms around me and buried her face in my chest and was sobbing. I'm just sitting there confused, trying to figure out if this is good or horrible. Finally, she looks up at me and says she's been waiting for me to say that since college, and that the reason she was crying with me on the couch the other week was because she thought it had been long enough and it wasn't going to happen, and that's why she kept trying to put off having a talk after we started having sex, because she thought that was the closest we'd come to being a couple. Now we're waiting for our Chinese food to come after some awesome sex. Thanks so much for the advice and getting me to finally say something. This literally just boils down to, hey guys, like, we're having sex, we go on like dates and like museums, we live together and like we have dinner and like we spend a lot of time together, we have like wrestling nights, we watch wrestling together and, you know, like all this kind of stuff. And we've known each other for like 25 years and like we're starting to get like a lot closer. Do you think she likes me? This dude is actually just golden retriever brain. Like, I really want to respect your boundaries as a person, but I just want to let you know that I think I'm in love with you. I have been trying to like drop hints for the past 10 years. So gotta love the, yeah, dude, I think she's into you. Otherwise, she probably wouldn't have slept with you multiple times. While OP's actively looking at a solved Rubik's Cube trying to figure out how the hell to solve it. This post was clicked by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Throw RA Wife a Fur, posted to r/relationship advice September 25th, 2019. Wife's 29 female, Frenemy 30 female, sent me an email outlining my wife's attempt to reconcile with her ex, 35 male, and sleeping with him, as we are getting more serious. I'm at work and don't know how to respond to any of this. My wife, 29 female, and I, 28 male, have been together for 4 years and married less than a year. Let me also preface this by saying I have a cold and am in desperate need of sleep. My wife, Katie, and I started dating when I was in grad school. We were in the same social circle. She was in a relationship with a guy we'll call Mike, and it was clear it wasn't going to work long term. Mike was a free spirit and had a lot of personal issues, so none of us were surprised when they broke up. He decided to go on a retreat/road trip with his ex-girlfriend for 6 months and disappeared. She got over the relationship about a year later. We started dating. It was an odd coupling. We're very different. She's a lot more artistic and free will than I am. We're on different levels in the looks department, and many of the things that make us who we are seemingly opposites. I'm more buttoned up and traditional, and she's not. A couple of months in, we hit a rough patch, but we worked through it. From then on, things were great. We moved in, I proposed, we got married, and that brings us to today, where we're trying for a kid. My wife's frenemy, Daniela, has never really been supportive of a relationship, and they've been friends since middle school, but have had several falling outs over the years. Recently, my wife couldn't/didn't attend an event hosted by Daniela, which prompted this recent outburst, and along with it, the end of their friendship. Daniela sent me an email saying that when Katie and I got together, she was unsure which person to choose. So, when Mike returned, she went to him to talk about them. They met a few times during the first 2 weeks he was back and apparently had sex once or twice. According to Daniela, Katie ended it and never told me anything about it. She confided in Daniela about it years ago, and I guess thought the matter was closed. I got the email this morning at 10 and was surprised Daniela emailed me and read it. Probably 30 minutes later, I get texts from my wife asking if I got an email from Daniela, and did I read it? When I answered in the affirmative, she sent me a deluge of long texts explaining that it did happen. They had sex once and had coffee 3 times, and that she hasn't spoken to him since. I'm not sure how to respond. I've been cold and have been trying to get work done so I can rest when I get home. I don't even know how to deal with this. Part of me wants to go home, get into bed, and sleep, pretending I never found out. Another part of me is furious that she hid this from me. I had a feeling she had seen her ex, but she then came to me a week or so later and wanted me to confirm we were exclusive and I wasn't seeing anyone else. Part of me is terribly mad at Daniela for dragging this shit up years later. I don't know what to do here. Is this that bad of a transgression? It feels like it was so far in the past that I don't know how to respond to my wife or Daniela. Top comments. I am Amaloka. You don't need to decide right now. You don't even need to decide tomorrow or this week. Sleep, get over your cold, think about it. Find someone to talk to about it, maybe a counselor. Figure out how you feel, and start to talk it out with your wife. Put trying for a kid on hold, no matter what. Deleted user comments. No matter what happens between you and your wife, get as far away from Daniela as humanly possible. She is fucking toxic. She totally destroyed you guys today for her own sick pleasure. Yes, I know your wife majorly fucked up and she'll have to answer for that. If she actually cared about either of you, she wouldn't have kept it a secret this long and then dropped a bomb when it was convenient for her. God, some people are cancer. User Rix23 comments, when did it happen? When you were first dating or when you were already deep into your relationship? I think that makes a difference. If you had no commitment and were just casually dating at the time, I can see why it would hurt now, but it seems like something you could work through. If you were farther into the relationship and had the expectation of exclusivity, this is more serious. How you handle it is up to you, but this would indicate a serious breach of trust, and who's to say that your wife wouldn't break that trust again if she hasn't already. One thing is for sure though, both you and your wife need to cut Daniela out of your life. Even if she told you an uncomfortable truth, she didn't do it to protect you. She did it to hurt your wife. She sounds horrible. Update, October 1st, 2019, 6 days later. Sorry for the delay, it's been crazy. So briefly, I didn't update because I was really feeling shitty. I took nighttime cold medicine really early and passed out and wound up taking Friday off. I binged Chernobyl and slept/recuperated. I didn't respond to Daniela, and my wife sort of left me alone to recover, as I felt like shit. She took care of me, but also didn't bring up the topic until I wasn't on my back. Once I started feeling better and could breathe through my nose again, I tried to calmly approach this. On the table was a pregnancy test. We've been trying for a while now, with a little bow on it. I had previously noticed that she was late, but my wife and I had a few very late periods and no pregnancy, so I wasn't sure what's what. I'm pretty sure I mentioned trying for a kid in my original post, so that adds a layer of complexity to all of this. To answer some of your questions. 1. In general, things were great between my wife and I, and have been for years. The real problem we had was in those first few moments, which involved a number of issues about being in a new relationship. We rarely fought, things were very happy, we had a great sex life, we openly talked about everything. I would never imagine that I'd be sent something like this. 2. Exclusive. We had never talked about it. It was never stated one way or the other. I assumed we were, but I guess not. 3. Her ex, he's a writer. Let me rephrase, a quote-unquote writer who has never written. Mike and I have met a few times by accident, and once because he was invited to a party we went to. He's not really that interesting/threatening, and my wife seems totally nonplussed with him. The last time we saw him was in a bookstore, and she didn't at all seem interested. She later said she was glad it didn't work out and was happy without him in her life. 4. Daniela. Daniela and Katie have been friends for 2 decades, but the last couple of years, things became contentious. Katie and I got together and Daniela's marriage fizzled out. Daniela can be a nice person, but is difficult, and I think she's jealous that our relationship was, well, until that point, very successful. She and I didn't really spend that much time together, and she retreated from my wife's life when she found out we were trying for a kid. In the wake of all of this, their friendship is ruined, that's for sure. I was feeling crummy and watched back-to-back episodes of TV and did nothing all Friday. I literally did nothing beyond getting up to take some medicine/eat and pee. That's it. I didn't broach the subject or even think about it. When my wife got home, I felt better and can think a bit more cogently. She does errands after work, which is when she dropped the test on the table and scrammed. A few people commented that we should wait to have kids. Well, that's not going to happen. She got back and we talked. The story is, and I have no reason to doubt her, she and Mike were dating. She was studying/working, and he was writing. He asked to go on a writing retreat with his ex-girlfriend to a cabin somewhere that they could focus on their work. She said no, that it wasn't a good idea for him to be alone with his ex, and he went anyway. That translated into his leaving for some prolonged road trip with his ex, and they kept in contact, but she and I started dating. We had been together for 3 or 4 weeks when he returned, and they didn't see each other at first. My wife, like I said, is different from me. I'm a lot more traditional, a lot more formal, and am very, very career-oriented. When we hit a rough patch, there was more than an insubstantial chance I was going to have to move away, and she was going to have to decide to move with me after 2.5 to 3 months of seeing each other, or break up and move on. I had applied for a program, and it looked like the program was going to reject me. But surprisingly, a far more well-known university was going to accept me. When things went down between them, I had been formally rejected and she had to make a decision. I was too focused on admission to even notice or care. They met up at a party and nothing happened. They just talked and had drinks. The second time they met, that's when the deed happened. She apparently regretted it immediately, and the final time was to tell him goodbye and that she was moving. They had a few drinks, fooled around, and then she left. She said she knew it was a mistake. She knew they had no future and nothing in common anymore. Right around the time that they fooled around, she and I had a mega fight about moving. It was a lot for someone to deal with, I know. But in the end, she said she wanted to go, but was scared I was going to get to New City and my new program and dump her for a classmate, stranding her. I told her no and offered her whatever assurances I could. It worked, and we did live happily ever after. I would never have assumed she had cheated. I mean, putting it down, we were in a weird spot and I fully understand why it was a rough time, but the cheating was really not something I could abide by. The whole exclusive thing came from us moving. I didn't put 2 and 2 together at the time. I figured then that she wanted assurances that moving with me wasn't a huge mistake. Not that she had recently bonked her ex who has frequent and unprotected sex with many randoms, but again, it also makes sense. From then, till about a month after we moved, we didn't have sex. Not once. I asked if she had been tested, and she just casually remarked, "Of course." I was still feeling crappy and didn't know what to do, so I just kind of went back to bed. In reality, for years, she's never strayed or been anything but open. She has access to my phone, and I can access hers. She doesn't go out with unexplained absences and is more of a homebody. She isn't flirtatious with people or cause drama, so I just sort of stopped caring. I took the weekend to get over this cold, and we did some baby shopping online and planned for a follow-up with her doctor. After that, we just didn't talk about it again. Very anticlimactic. I did bring up the subject of Daniela, and pretty directly told her I was done with her. She asked if she thought it would be wise to try and talk to her, and I said no. I wrote her an email using my account and sent her a response basically telling her that we were done with her and not to bother us again. She responded by saying it was a joke and asked that we understand that she was being funny. I found the block function on Gmail and added her. My wife noticed that she removed her from Facebook and Insta, and I guess that's that. Not really a thrilling or interesting update, and a few people will be angry that I didn't take a stronger tone/reaction, but I did what I felt was best under the circumstances. Hopefully this is behind us, and I can just move on and enjoy bringing a new life into the world. I think it is 100% OP's choice if he decides to stay or leave his wife based upon this incident from years ago. I definitely do think cutting Daniela out is the right choice because she held on to this information until the time was right for her to cause maximum damage as a petty revenge. Someone who waits to provide damning information where they're protecting one person, but the moment they fall out with that person, they just freely begin spreading it. That person is complicit and just as bad, and honestly, it's really telling that they were willing to hold on to that until things went sour. The story is also a really good example as to why dates are important for BestOfs, because this was September 25th, 2019, and they just got a positive pregnancy test, after aspects of the life's past just came to fruition, and right before a global pandemic. So, for the sake of the child, I really hope things worked out between them, whatever that may look like. Oh boy, it's an outro! That's pretty cool, right? No, that means your content's ending, which means that the little, on-screen display thing's gonna pop up soon and direct you to another one of my videos, which you should definitely click on, by the way. Also, fun fact, leaving a like will actually help the channel stay in your recommended feeds, so you could always try doing that. Maybe leaving a comment, maybe subscribing, turning notifications on. Hey, that could be pretty good. Oh, also, don't forget to use GamerSups. Code KEYZ at checkout. You get 10% off. That's pretty cool. Big recommendation on that. I know I give the code every episode and I recommend it, but there's a link in the description. Maybe give it a peek. You can get yourself some free samples, and if you like them, then you can buy it. That way you don't have to make a commitment to something that's, $36 with code KEYZ at checkout, and turns out you don't like it. This way you can test them, find out if you do, and bada booey, it's a win-win. Did I mention they're free?